Neymar left Barcelona to become the star, to step out of Lionel Messi's shadow and stake his claim to be the greatest footballer in the world. But 3 seasons later, and he's even further away from his original goal and reportedly desperate for a move back to Barcelona. So where did it all go wrong for Neymar, and why does he have to make a step back to move forwards? First off, he did leave to win elsewhere, but more importantly, he left to become an amazing individual in his own right. He moved to Barcelona and soon realised that competing with Lionel Messi is literally impossible. Overtaking him is impossible, unless you're Cristiano Ronaldo, and even that's going to be up for debate for the rest of eternity. Joining Barcelona at age 21 was massive for Neymar. He left to join one of the biggest clubs in the biggest league and play in the world's biggest matches. In fact, he joined the deadly trio known as MSN alongside Messi and Suarez. They were incredible for a fair few seasons, winning absolutely everything there is to win in club football. Between them, they notched up 364 goals, 173 assists, and 90 of those goals went to the Brazilian himself. The formidable front three spearheaded Barcelona's attack during a period in which they won the Champions League, a Club World Cup, 2 La Liga titles and 3 Copa del Reys. But still, Neymar wasn't exactly in the limelight that he'd hoped. All of this came to a boil eventually in the 6-1 defeat of PSG. Now you guys already know what happened. PSG were 4-0 up from the first leg in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Barcelona, well, they needed a second leg turnaround. They were 3-1 up heading into the last few minutes where Neymar scored 2 and assisted the winner. Unbelievable. You would have thought he got man of the match, but no. The next day, the papers were all about Lionel Messi, all about how the Argentinian literally drove his team to victory and how he was a godlike figure. As I mentioned, not exactly what Neymar was hoping for. So the decision was made to leave that summer of 2017. Now, of course, he didn't ask for the €222 million record bid to be made for him, but he did happily accept the €700,000 a week. He was brought into the PSG project alongside other big money signings like Kylian Mbappe, and both of them have definitely gone on to show what unbelievable talent they have, but there's always that tag hanging over their head that they're only doing it in Ligue 1. So a few years later, and not one transfer window has passed where there hasn't been a rumour about Neymar wanting to return to the new camp. There's been talk of unrest at PSG, that he's not getting along with the managers or with the sporting director, and also apparently he's texting former Barcelona teammates that he wants to return to the club. So what on earth went wrong for Neymar in France? I think it's pretty obvious to anyone to see that when he moved to PSG, the team just wasn't as good. I mean, Mbappe and Neymar practically run the show themselves. They win absolutely everything there is to win in French football, and they completely dominate the league. The problem is PSG are stuck in some weird position by where they're so good for the league, but they're not good enough for the Champions League. So Cavani, Neymar, Di Maria, Mbappe, they're probably the only 4 who I'd say would definitely get in, or at least have a shot at getting into the other top quality teams of the Champions League. Think of your Liverpool, City, Real Madrid, Juventus, Bayern, those kind of teams. It's going to sound a little harsh on some players, but that's the truth. The likes of Idrissa Gueye, Julian Draxler, an aging Thiago Silva, Pablo Sarabia, Ander Herrera, Levan Kurzawa, Thomas Meunier, Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting. All of these players are good enough to help the stars of this PSG team win Ligue 1, but aren't good enough to seriously challenge top-level teams in the Champions League, and just a few good attackers can't do it by themselves. This brings me on to the main point, that is Neymar actually ready to be the star man? I'm not saying he's getting injured on purpose, but he seems to be shirking a lot of the responsibility when it comes to PSG's biggest games of the season. Now, there's no doubt he's got insane brilliance and skill on the pitch, but does he really have the temperament off the pitch to go and be the leader, to be the guy that drives PSG to their first ever Champions League title, a little bit like Messi can when things aren't going so well for Barcelona? I mean, off the pitch, as I mentioned before, there's disagreements with Leonardo, the sporting director. He's fighting with Thomas Tuchel, and apparently there's even squabbles between him and Edinson Cavani over who's going to take the damn penalties. This isn't exactly what you'd expect from someone who's supposed to be leading a team and wants to be one of the greatest ever. He needs to set an example, not be squabbling with his teammates. All of this, despite being the most talented player on the pitch literally 99% of the time. In fact, so much was his off-the-pitch troubles last season that the Ballon d'Or left him off the 30-man nominee list. That has got to hurt for someone who literally stepped away from Barcelona to become the best in the world. And what way of confirming your place as the best in the world than by winning the coveted Ballon d'Or trophy? The problem is for now that, well, basically he's super talented, and I'd say he's even the 3rd best player behind Ronaldo and Messi, but he's almost in danger of falling into another person's shadow, and that is Kylian Mbappe at PSG. So many transfer rumours recently have said that both of them will be leaving the club. Both Barca and Real Madrid have been touted as potential destinations. But it looks like that Real Madrid certainly would have earmarked Kylian Mbappe over Neymar. And PSG, when asked if they want to keep one, it looks like they'd rather keep Mbappe instead of Neymar instead. He's literally moved out of Messi's shadow and straight into Mbappe's just 2 or 3 years later. So let's say he finally gets his way and he does get that dream return to Barcelona. Would they actually fit in, and do they actually need him? For me, the short answer is yes. Barcelona are clearly in a transition phase, and even with the new exciting youngsters like Ansu Fati and Frenkie de Jong, Barca still have a load of players who are probably coming towards the end of their career, and they've also got a few players who have failed to adequately replace the legends such as Xavi and Iniesta. Of course, that's not exactly an easy task, but you would expect Barcelona to be able to either create or attract and buy those type of top talents. The likes of Suarez, Piqué, Alba, Rakitic and Busquets have shown signs of being past their peak powers, and multi-million-pound signings like Dembele, Griezmann and Coutinho have really failed up to live to expectations. So much so in Coutinho's case, he's been sent out on loan to Bayern Munich. Of course, there is still Lionel Messi doing Lionel Messi things, but even the Barca board have admitted they're planning for life without their superstar. Now, the likes of Arthur, De Jong and Fati, who I mentioned earlier, either aren't experienced enough or aren't quite that player to take on the role of replacing Messi. I mean, whoever's going to be in that role is going to be fighting a losing battle from day one. But alongside this, if you look at rather odd signings in the last few years from Barcelona, I'm looking at the likes of Vidal, Paulinho and even Antoine Griezmann in some cases, it looks like they're signing stopgaps before a whole new generation of players comes through. Now, of course, I mentioned it earlier, Neymar isn't Messi. He won't be like Messi, but what he can do is hopefully bring enough skills on the pitch which attracts other players and brings back the good feeling of football back to Barcelona. He's not going to be able to do it all by himself, but like I mentioned earlier, Barca have a better team and can build a better team than PSG ever could. The other thing with Barcelona is that their history is so great, and it seems no matter how poorly they do, they always seem to be in a shot at the Champions League. I mean, PSG can absolutely steamroll Liga and then still get turfed out of the Champions League in the early knockout rounds. As for Barcelona, they can have a poor season and probably make it to the semi-final at least. The one issue for the signing at the moment is, of course, money. And I'm not saying that Barcelona don't have it because they are one of the richest in the world, but I mean, surely they've got a lesson or two to learn from the likes of Dembele, Coutinho and Antoine Griezmann all signing for the club. Are they really going to drop another 200 million on a 28-year-old who could potentially fail? Of course, Neymar's got past at Barcelona, so he kind of knows what they're about and they know what he can bring. But even so, if Barcelona is supposed to be building for the future, showing young intent with all of their recruitment, spending 200 million on a 28-year-old doesn't exactly go alongside that. If they do somehow find the money, or as has been reported recently, offer a swap deal to PSG, then I think Neymar would really do well as a core group of players alongside the likes of Sergio Roberto, Marc-Andre ter Stegen and Samuel Umtiti. Of course, all of it won't fall on Neymar's shoulders like it does on Messi, but rather they'd have a sort of captain's group. On a personal note, being back at Barca would give Neymar the exposure, the challenge and the platform to establish himself as one of the world's best, and hopefully in a team which will be looking to regain their European crown. Neymar's time needs to be now because he's kind of in his own generation. Whereas he's a few years younger than the likes of Messi and Ronaldo, who are likely to retire in the next few years, he can't leave it too long because, as with Mbappe and a few others, there's a younger generation that are threatening to become even better than he is. At 28 years old, he's in the prime of his career and he needs to be showing it. He needs to be showing he's one of the world's best with a Ballon d'Or all of his own. But what do you think? Should Neymar actually be moving back to Barcelona? And if he does, can he go on to prove himself to be one of the world's best? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Check out the rest of the stuff we've got going on Onefootball on screen now. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.